So it's pretty clear that Manchester United are heading towards a caretaker manager until the summer. And right now, the two names being mentioned are Michael Carrick and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We'll run through all the latest reports around those names, as well as some of the other options that are being talked about. But for me, the real question isn't who the caretaker should be. It's what United actually need from that caretaker role. We're going to discuss that and run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Welcome to Man United Review. Let's jump straight into it. So firstly, though, give us your thoughts on Darren Fletcher. Spoke very well, I felt, in his press conference ahead of the game, confirming Mainu Mount Bruno potentially available for tonight. Might be with managed minutes, but we don't know whether they're going to be cleared to play. So that'll be a big boost for Fletcher for tonight. And, overall, I felt he conducted himself really well in that interview. It was a different feeling. I don't know about you, but there was a different feeling with an ex-player who understands, who've lived at United, and like when he was speaking, I was like, you could sense that he gets it and he understands, and obviously spoke about speaking to Sir Alex Ferguson as well, and I thought it was a nice interview, nice press conference from Darren Fletcher. He conducted himself really well. I picked up that he mentioned he'd spoken to Cunha and Sesko specifically because he doesn't have a previous relationship with them, which I thought was a clever touch from him as well, to get to know some of the players so it doesn't feel so strange for him taking over, albeit even if it is just for one, maybe 2 games. Formation-wise, he didn't give anything away, but did say that he's going to stick to what he knows, which is a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, however we're calling, however it can be flexible. So that'll be interesting to see how we do shape the team up tonight as well. Spoke about showing the right energy for tonight's game, and I just hope the players show up and put in a good performance. He's done an interview since on Sky saying football nowadays, formations are fluid, in and out of possession in different phases. That's the way the game is played now. I want to see the players play with enthusiasm, energy, and be really positive when they get the ball. Don't hide. They they play as a team, they play with togetherness and play with spirit and energy of Manchester United. Go express yourself and enjoy yourself and go and try to win the game. These are all the things that I'll be expecting from my players. So I thought he conducted himself really well, and I just hope that the players do show up, put in a performance, and get a result tonight, because my God, we need some happiness, don't we, with everything that's been going on around the club. Not just now. I was speaking to my brother-in-law earlier, and I was like, God, there's been such a dark cloud over the club for years. Even obviously last season, one of the worst I've ever witnessed. Even the season before that under Ten Hag, when we finished 8th, the football was absolutely tragic. The one shining light that season was we won the FA Cup, but outside of that, it was absolutely dire as well. So it's been a long time since we've had some positivity and some positive performances and consistent performances and all of that stuff. So I just really hope that the players go out there tonight and put on a performance for everybody involved in Man United, because it is a really, really challenging time at the moment, and we need some positivity in our life as well. And I like the way that Fletcher was trying to at least get that out of the players, it seemed, from the press conferences and the interview as well. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. So let's go through. Obviously, the main talk, there is no transfer news at the moment, because there is literally nothing happening until we appoint either a caretaker manager. That's the route that the club seem to be going down, and then looking for a permanent replacement in the summer. So the main names is Carrick and Solskjaer. They're the 2 main candidates for the caretaker role at this particular moment in time. So Laurie Whitwell, Manchester United is set to meet Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick before making final decision on caretaker manager appointment. Carrick as number 2 has been mentioned, but talks with him are also about the main role. So they're going to have face-to-face conversations with both Michael Carrick and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It could still end up being the Solskjaer number 1, Carrick number 2, or vice versa as well, because both might still want to help the club in some sort of capacity until the end of the season. So they are set for face-to-face talks after having initial talks over the phone, which has been documented by Romano and people like that as well. Sky, though, was saying that there will be no meetings today with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Michael Carrick as Man United focus on the Burnley game. Talks are expected to accelerate later this week. However, Fabrizio Romano has dismissed that, saying that Man United are set to hold face-to-face talks with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer today. Decisions expected to be made this week. INEOS will also meet with Michael Carrick to discuss the role. New permanent manager expected to be appointed in June. So Romano going against Sky and saying that no, they are set for face-to-face talks today. So the one thing I would say, because obviously INEOS are getting it in the neck for their appointments and their manager, and rightly so. I'm not gonna, defend the decisions, because it has been a disaster, the managerial appointment so far under their tenure. Keeping Ten Hag, sacking Ten Hag, hiring Amorim, sacking Amorim is not a good first start to your time as the supposedly football experts at Manchester United. But at least they're moving quick, I suppose. They want to get somebody in as soon as possible. And then the latest regarding Ollie. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a leading contender to become Manchester United manager until the end of the season. Both Solskjaer and Carrick have been contacted by the club as they assess their options regarding the short-term successor to Ruben Amorim. United are more likely to turn to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who became interim boss after Jose Mourinho sacked in December 2018 before getting the permanent job. And then obviously we know how that ended. That came from Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook. Florian Plettenberg, though, has said personal terms between Man United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer are not an issue. Talks and negotiations with its agent have already taken place and are well advanced. Solskjaer is currently one of the top candidates to take over to the end of the season, but Manchester United are also assessing other profiles. Solskjaer is ready to help again and waiting patiently. No decision yet. So by all accounts, they've agreed. I mean, Romano was saying that Solskjaer has told them that it's not about the money, he'd do it for free, which shows what a character he is and how much he loves the club. And we could do with people like that around the place, I think, at the moment, personally. Interestingly, though, Jamie Jackson said if Solskjaer is appointed interim manager at Manchester United, he would hope to earn the role on a permanent basis. The current plan being discussed is for a caretaker spell first, with a permanent appointment considered later if results and performances are convincing. I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves regarding that. And, even if Solskjaer does do well, let's hope we don't have all the clamour around, get the contract out, put it on the table, let him put as many zeros as he wants, Ollie's at the wheel, all of that stuff, even if he does come in and if performances do go like this first time anyway as the interim manager, I would like the club to still maintain a little bit of self-control and not get carried away with the hype train that's going to go on. I'm going to get hyped by it. I know already that I am, because I've already been speaking to friends and families about it today, and we've been getting a little bit giddy around certain things at the moment, but the club need to maintain their stance on that as well. But yeah, why would Ollie not see it that way? I would hope any caretaker coming in would see it as a pathway to a permanent job as well, and that's just better for us, because that means hopefully we'll get better performances and better results. And my God, we need them, don't we? And that's not the only one, though. Alex Cricket was saying the same as well. Gunnar Solskjaer is hoping to do enough to land the full-time job as permanent head coach, but Manchester United are targeting other candidates for the long-term project. So I still would like to hope, although they are desperately needing to show us something now, INEOS, with the next managerial appointment, I would still like to hope that they maintain discipline on that, regardless of how the results go and bits like that as well. But yeah, it does seem likely. I mean, I could see it being Solskjaer and Carrick. I think it might end up being both, number one, number two. Maybe Fletcher staying on as a part of the coaching team, and Darren Fletcher as well. That seems to be the talk of the town at the moment, is maybe those four as the sort of caretaker roles to the end of the season, to give United time to obviously assess and interview and hopefully get this next decision right, because we cannot keep effing around anymore. We need to get the next managerial appointment correct, because so far it's been a complete disaster, hasn't it? And it's been a bit of a bit chaotic, to say the least, anyway, under INEOS and their managerial merry-go-round that we've seen in recent times. But get involved in the comments, though. What do you think around Solskjaer and Carrick coming back? I know it's not ideal. We're not in an ideal situation, though, with the sacking of Ruben Amorim. But for me, I think the bigger question is not who we want, is what we actually need from a caretaker. Look, what do we want this person or team or group or whoever to come in? And first, for me, I think that it is an advantage if they know the club, because we tried an insider with Ralf Rangnick, and whether that's fair or not, the toxic dressing room at the time treated him exactly like that. He had a promising 45 minutes against Palace and then never really got off the ground after that, and the whole thing collapsed. So knowing the club and the environment, for me, I think does matter in this instance, when you're just wanting to shut someone to come in and plug a gap. Second thing, I think knowing the environment as well. Secondly, it's stability. We need somebody that can, no one's going to expect the caretaker to come in and reinvent the wheel. It's just about steadying the ship, not building a new one, calm things down, simplify things, and just guide the club, hopefully, towards the summer while getting results and hopefully keeping us, in contention for Europe. That would be nice. So a little bit of stability from them as well. I think thirdly, someone that the players are going to respond to as well, because as we saw with Ralph Ragnick, when I referenced there, respect does matter. And we've seen when that's missing, some United players' heads might turn and it can go south very, very quickly as well. And I think the fourth one as well is to stop the noise. The external noise right now is huge from media, pundits, obviously giving INEOS grief and that now. So someone that can quiet things down, I think, a little bit rather than fueling the fire would be nice as well. And that might be, advantageous to INEOS specifically as well, to get somebody in that is going to quiet that noise so that they can tuck their tails between their legs and hopefully go and find a permanent manager, that can do a better job anyway, and at least take us going forward as well. So I think there would be the key things. And to be fair, based on that, I don't think you could, Carrick and Solskjær, I do think probably both equally fit. So I'm not really bothered who we go for, but I think they're both huge, legends at the club as well. So they'd have that respect. They know the club inside out. They've been at the club recently as well. They can offer that stability. I think they'll get a response from the players as well, and they'll definitely stop the noise, because obviously a lot of the pundits and the loudest voices out there are some of the former players as well, and I don't think they would be as loud with certain people in charge as well. So I think they'd be good shouts for the time being until we can pull our fingers out of our backsides and recruit the permanent manager going forward. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. I just wanted to, I'd love your take on that as well. But on the permanent manager position, David Ornstein said on potential names under consideration for the manager job, there are so many names you could look at. Oliver Glasner, not sure how realistic that is. Eddie Howe has ruled himself out, and I don't think he was ever really in. This process could go on for a while. I'm intrigued by the Kieran McKenna bracket of coaches. Ipswich fans won't like it, and I'm not saying he's even in the frame, but it's the type of United DNA, strong coaching pedigree. They've also got elite managers like Tuchel, De Zerbi, Carlo Ancelotti, but at this stage, I think United would prefer someone younger. What's clear from the last 24 hours is this Premier League experience is going to be crucial, something United feel they lacked with Amorim and Ten Hag. So regardless of which route we go down, whether someone more senior, someone more junior in terms of their managerial career, the one takeaway that David Ornstein is saying is Premier League experience. And I think that that's, the right approach, because we've tried, like he says himself, we've tried Amorim, we've tried Ten Hag, hasn't exactly gone swimmingly, has it? For those appointments as well. But yeah, Premier League proven seems to be the way, according to David Ornstein. The BBC, though, was saying that Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner and former Brighton boss Roberto De Zerbi, now at Marseille, are understood to be the early contenders for the full-time job. Ironically, two managers that play a three at the back system currently as well, which would make absolutely zero sense to me. Although, playing devil's advocate, that was a bit tongue-in-cheek from me. Both managers have shown flexibility and are willing to change. Like De Zerbi's played 4-3-3. Oliver Glasner says that he plays his system in response to the players that he's got as well, and that is actually his preferred system would be 4-4-2. But it is ironic that two of the leading contenders, according to the BBC, are two managers that currently play a three at the back system, because wouldn't that be a turn up for the book if we went down that route? But I do think the problem with Amorim is not necessarily the three at the back system. It was his lack of adaptability and flexibility around it when it wasn't working, and his inability to change and persisting with it. Whereas these are two managers who I think maybe would be a bit more open to change if it wasn't working. But yeah, that would be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it? And in fact, that's the sort of decision that INEOS would probably make at the moment, isn't it? Let's be real. So now another name in the hat is Nagelsmann. So Miguel Delaney did a good piece actually in the Independent. So Ratcliffe is reportedly frustrated with decision making due to leadership changes. Establishing a clear football identity could solve this, but currently Ratcliffe's personality seems to be the main guiding force causing uncertainty. Many recent appointments lack experience baffling rivals. And then he goes on in the report to say that Vival's experience from Red Bull Red Bull is becoming influential, potentially making Julian Nagelsmann a summer candidate. So it's a good piece actually in the Independent from Miguel Delaney, who's a good journalist as well. And he was going in a little bit on Ratcliffe. What he was basically alluding to in the piece, just to sort of summarize it, was United have had so many people in different roles so far since INEOS have come in. Obviously, the Dan Ashworth one's widely reported. Jason Wilcox started as technical director. Now he's being moved into director of football role, but he was interim for a while Dan Ashworth was gone and they didn't know what they were going to do. Christopher Ville's had a couple of different roles within the club as well, and different scouts and everything coming in. But then also saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's having a big influence on things as well, which I do not like. I do not like that outside, that influence. Yes, he's part owner of the club, spent a lot of money on the club as well, but the whole purpose was to let the football people do the football stuff. And by the sounds of things, maybe he is getting too involved, and instead of just having one voice where it's either coming from Omar Barada to say, right, this is it, and then it goes to Jason Wilcox at the moment, and obviously he's getting it in the neck at the minute as well. And then Jason Wilcox makes the decisions around, because he is the director of football, and we need to have that sort of guidance to say, right, this is how we're going to play, and this is the style of play we're going down. But what he was saying in the report effectively was, because of Ratcliffe's involvement and influence, it's changing a lot, which is why we've seen, going to Ruben Amorim, because apparently Sir Jim Ratcliffe was taken back by the conversations that they had as well, even though that might have been going against, because Dan Ashworth definitely wasn't for going for Ruben Amorim because of the 3-4-3, and Jason Wilcox had concerns about the 3-4-3 system as well. So both raised concerns, but it went above their heads, and I think it was Barada and Ratcliffe that ultimately ended up going for Ruben Amorim. Reading between the lines, that's my interpretation of what's happened anyway. But the report from Miguel Delaney was basically saying that too much meddling from Jim Ratcliffe, which is leading to confusion because nobody knows where they're going. We need one direction and we need to stick to that direction, is what it was effectively saying. But going back to the report, interestingly, that Nagelsmann, I think it was a name that we were linked with before, weren't we, when we were interviewed? I don't know if we interviewed him though, but he was linked with us when we had the whole Ten Hag summer around his future and stuff. But either way, Sean Connolly, who's decent as well, said that Manchester United are aiming to bring in a caretaker who can provide a lift to the dressing room and fan base. Meanwhile, long-term officials are keen to stamp the club's worldwide status with an elite head coach in the summer, one who can spearhead a unified vision towards Project 150. And that just sounds like that's a brief from the club or something, or someone's put their executive head on, leaked it out, because I said Sean Connery's not quite connected normally when it comes to United news and stuff. But I do think we either way, we need to get this decision right, whoever is next, because INEOS, not exactly doing great, not exactly making great decisions so far when it comes to managerial appointments anyway, and on what they're doing. But we'll have to just wait and see how it all plays out. But main takeaway is, at the moment, it's all about Ollie and Carrick. Apparently, according to Romano, they are going to be in face-to-face talks with the club today, and then maybe we'll get a decision by the end of the week, because there's a couple of other reports going around that maybe by Friday we could have confirmation around the caretaker role, whether it's going to be Ollie and Carrick seem to be the main two names. There might be somebody else that's not being put out in the media, but I would imagine Laurie Whitwell, David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano would probably know by now if there was other candidates. I mean, I suppose the surprise one could be Darren Fletcher. I don't think he's done himself any harm in his initial interviews and stuff. It obviously depends on the result tonight. If we get battered, then I don't think he'll get it permanently or be offered the caretaker role. But, good performance and how the players respond to him as well might be a factor. How the fans and everyone like that reacts to him as well. So maybe Fletcher could be in for a shout for it as well. But we don't know. But either way, we'll have to wait and see. But get involved in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and feelings regarding the caretaker role, and give us some suggestions as well about permanent roles. If they're going Premier League proven, the names being mentioned at the moment, obviously the ones I mentioned, De Zerbi, Glasner, Areola's out of contract in the summer as well. That might be one to keep an eye on. Kieran McKenna mentioned by Ornstein, although not necessarily name dropping him. Nagelsmann we've been linked with, Pochettino, Tuchel, Ancelotti. the list of managers that we've been linked with is endless. I think my Uncle Pete will probably get linked with the manager position by the time the summer comes. The amount of names that we are going to get linked with in that particular role. But give us your shouts in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because it's you all up to date with the latest news. Don't forget, smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.